time, they were average high school girls, until Bethany and Hannah Keime were diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, HCM, the number one killer of student athletes. Asymptomatic, HCM most often kills without warning. Both extremely athletic, they were immediately put on medications and made lifestyle changes. However, their condition got worse, and those precautions weren't enough. Bethany and Hannah had defibrillators implanted to shock their hearts when needed. Grateful to discover and manage their conditions, they are dedicated to warn the world about undiagnosed heart conditions.
Thank you so much, both to Bethany and Hannah Keime, for joining us here on AwareNow to share your story. Thank you for sharing this space with us today.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so honored.
Awesome. Let's begin this way, shall we? Bethany, you were and are a dancer, earning your BFA in dance performance. Through dance, you communicate with your body. My question for you is, how has your dancing had to change since being diagnosed with HCM?
Yeah, so my dance journey definitely changed as my condition changed. So when I first got diagnosed, I was dancing full-time, 6 days a week, 8 hours a day in a pre-professional program. And unfortunately, as being diagnosed, they were like, well, we don't know how dancing is really affecting your heart, so we're going to go ahead and put a heart halter on you. So I would go with like these huge heart halters on my chest with all the wires. They've changed a lot, but I would go like that so they could monitor, okay, your heart's looking like this. Okay, there's a few skip beats, so now we're going to up your medication. And then as my condition worsened and I started having syncope episodes, they were like, well, now we're going to put an implanted defibrillator, but you're still going to dance. So I always got that chance to keep dancing, and I was super grateful for that. And so then as I get the defibrillator implanted, though, they were like, well, as a dancer, I was really small and petite, so I would get thrown and, lifted. And they were like, well, the defibrillator we have to put in has to match the dancing. So I got a defibrillator that protrudes out of my side, but the wire runs up my chest instead of going inside my heart. And then as my condition worsened and I'm in my BFA and I'm finishing it, unfortunately, though, I was told my heart has worsened and I might need a heart transplant. So the dancing would need to come to a minimum. And during my career of dancing, they were always like, well, dance at a 70%, but how do you tell a dancer to dance at 70%? In no way do you know what that is. So it definitely changed. So I still consider myself, of course, a dancer, and I dance when I can. And the content that we do on Heartcharged, I think you see still my little dancing abilities where I can, but unfortunately I cannot be the ballerina I dreamed of, because as my condition changed, so did my lifestyle have to change.
And that is such a good question. How do you tell a dancer to dance at 70%? Is there such a thing?
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that journey. How incredible. So Hannah, shocked not once, but twice by your defibrillator while lip syncing to Celine Dion's All by Myself on your high school stage, you went on to finish your performance. Details, please. Will you please replay this scene for us and what you were feeling, what you were thinking?
No, absolutely. I love this question. It's one that I've literally asked myself. Like, there's a little video that I made for film school that we posted online. That's like an interview with myself where I talk about it. But yeah, so I was on stage. Celine's song has a special place in my heart now. And I was performing this song with my best friend. It was a lip sync. I was coming as like a special guest performer because I had just graduated. So I was coming back because she was a senior in high school. And I literally drove in that day. So we hadn't really prepped a lot. So I was kind of a bit nervous. Like I could feel my heart like racing when I got there, kind of, like any nerves before going on. Like I had performed my whole life. So it's like, okay, that's just normal. And then I had watched the competition. I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm relaxed now. Like, whatever happens, happens. And so we're on stage, we're doing it. And I remember like having certain like visions of like looking like out to the audience. And like, yes, we had like dim lighting, but I remember kind of like my vision going a little bit, but I'm like, I'm a performer, the show must go on. I'm in a competition, so I'm like going, and then all of a sudden I feel this really intense drawing, like whack to my chest. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I think my friend just hit me, because it's being like a dancer growing up, sometimes you get hit in the face because people's peripheral vision is, not great. So I was like, okay, mental note, I'm just going to step farther away so I don't get hit again. And then I got hit again. And I was like, dang, okay, whatever, let's just keep going and let's perform. And then we ended the performance, and like any good friend, I confronted her afterwards and I was like, hey, like, you hit me like really hard during the performance. And she was like, no, I didn't. Like, I didn't even touch you. And I was like, I don't know. So then luckily, because it's, a high school performance, everybody has their phones out and is videotaping it. So we pulled up a video that somebody had and they're playing it. And I remember exactly where I was in front of my school watching it. And then I had the realization, oh my gosh, I was like, I think my defibrillator just shocked me. So I had been shocked before this, like a year and a half before this event. I went into sudden cardiac arrest in my sleep. But because I was in my sleep and a deep sleep, I went unconscious when I was shocked, so I never felt it before. So I really had no idea exactly what it felt. And when people tell you what it feels like, they describe it as a horse kicking you in the chest. I'd never been kicked by a horse in the chest. I would say now, after being shocked, it definitely feels like it. I explain it like a sledgehammer hitting like a home run hit right into your chest. It hurts. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like a great thing. But the only reason I kept going is because I wasn't thinking, oh my gosh, my defibrillator is shocking me right now, which I definitely think in the moment I definitely would have like stopped and been like, wait, hold up, what's going on? But because I just thought it was like, okay, the performance, I have so much other things on my mind. That's how I kept going and kept performing. But then I, because I'm an unwell person, I texted my doctor like, hey, I think I was just shocked by my defibrillator. And then she was like, yeah, come in the next day. Well, let's check that out, because shouldn't have happened. So, but everything was, fortunate. I guess the biggest loss was that we didn't win that night, even though, I kept performing while getting shocked, which no one else was doing in their performance. But it's now water under the bridge. So
under the bridge. That's incredible. Yeah, I imagine it's one of those things where you can describe it all you want, but until you feel it, you can't really imagine what that must be like. So Bethany, let's go to you. In response to your Instagram post titled "That's Hot," where you pair your heart monitor with a very sassy low-cut top. An author and patient advocate, Alana Jacqueline, said, and I love this is the unconditional advocacy the world needs. And I agree. And it doesn't get more unconventional than your Flash the Boobs campaign. So for those who did not see you and Hannah in Washington, will you please share how Heartcharged went big for CPR and AED Awareness Week?
Yeah, of course. And just thank you for bringing up my That's Hot post. It's just because definitely touching on that, it's definitely part of our work. And we love when we get responses from, other heart warriors and other, rare patients and chronic disease patients, and just thanking us for sharing our scars, for sharing our stories. And it's even a beautiful thing when mothers reach out to us and they're like, thank you so much, because it just allows me to feel like, wow, my little one can feel normal and this can feel beautiful. And so I think that's important. And that's why I tend to always try to show off, my jolts, my bionic bulge, just because I think it's a beautiful thing that I've come to accept it. But definitely, as we do and create our content, we came to the realization that unfortunately women are less likely to receive bystander intervention when they go into sudden cardiac arrest, that meaning CPR or receiving a jolt from an AED. And unfortunately, that's because studies have shown because women have breast. And it's just not okay. There's one thing, we live in a new age. Somebody shouldn't die because they're a woman, because they have boobs. We should flash the boobs to save a life, and that's what we try to touch on. So when we went to DC, we of course went with our flash the boobs top. It was a nude top with our little outline of our boobies, and then of course we had our huge banner that said flash the boobs on it, and we, proud and loud, were all around DC. And then we actually got to hand out little buttons that said flash the boobs to save a life, and just seeing everybody's reaction to them, they're like, oh my gosh, yes, it's so important. And especially talking to people and being like, especially when a couple would walk by and would be like, are you gonna flash your boobs to save a life? And they're like looking at us weird, and they're like, what? We're like, yeah, because if it comes to it, you're gonna need to take off your top to put the AED on it and to perform CPR. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes. And I think just the attention that it received is really awesome, and hopefully moving in the right direction, because we should not have a less chance of survival just because we have breast.
Right, just because people are uncomfortable,
Yeah.
It's just like, get comfortable already.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love how you also, I did see that, you two are so talented. The parody with the Little Mermaid song, flash the, I watched that a couple of times. I was like, this is awesome.
Thank you. We love that one. Well, and also touching, touching on that one and stuff, because now we go and do free CPR and AED trainings, and all of our mannequins have boobs on them. And then we even show now the flash to boobs, the Little Mermaid parody, and people are like, they get it. They're like, oh my gosh, like it clicks. And it's like, because we can't live in this world, no offense, like we grew up with white male mannequins. We can't think like they're the only person that's going to be saved. Is that we have to start changing the narrative now.
And so, to that point, using music and film projects to create required awareness for needed action, you both use your talents to take on this epidemic of undiagnosed heart conditions. I'd love to hear from both of you. What has been your favorite project thus far with your organization, Heartcharged?
It's a great question. It's a hard question because so I went to film school. I'm a filmmaker. I enjoy, and you can pretty much see our background with dance and stuff and how that's very much put into our films, but it's almost choosing a child. We put in so much love and effort to each video that it's I can't say, but like children, you have favorites at your moment, where you're right now, but right now, my favorite is Heartspiracy, which is a random teaser that we did. And we're actually gonna drop another little one that we shot in DC, and only because we haven't explored it much, what that world is. And it basically is making me and Bethany detective and agents we put sudden cardiac arrest as a notorious serial killer, because technically it is. So we're putting it in the world of true crime and relating it of what's happening. And there's a conspiracy of the fact how are these organizations, these big ones that say they're here for people's hearts, politicians, medical professionals, how are they letting these people die? And what it is, it's almost kind of if X-Files and Criminal Minds had a cheap baby, because that's why we would hope to make it a web series, but because of funding right now. But to be able to get the point across that sudden cardiac arrest can happen literally to anyone, anywhere, anytime, any age, and then talk about the discrimination that we know in stories of people not being taken seriously due to their race, or the fact that they let it happen, or it happens several times in just one place, and people are oh, who would have known? So the creative person in me really wants to explore that and do it. So right now for me, that's one of my favorite projects and enjoy, because it's a mix of funny, grit, creativity, but being able to play in that world to be able to bring a new message to it. But we've definitely been able to accomplish a lot with our AED music video, and working with, because I was a fangirl of the Wiggles, the original Yellow Wiggle, who's also a survivor of sudden cardiac arrest, and what we were able to accomplish and how many people have learned from our videos and watched them. It's just as a filmmaker, that's why I wanted to make films, is to see people learn from it, right? To be able to see that accurate representation and just learn from the film. So we feel I feel very proud of what we've been able to do with our definitely eclectic collection of content, but being able to make it bite-sizable, entertainable to a general audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and with the Heartspiracy, like I think it's so smart the way you embodied it, right? To say like, no, this is actually a serial killer. And to be able to share the story that way. And so to just sort of bend that narrative in a really creative way, I think it was really smart. So how about you, Bethany? What do you think?
Yeah, so definitely going back onto the topic of flash the boobs, mine definitely would be the one where I pretended to be a news anchor and we call it flashing news. And so for anybody, I'm wearing like a blazer jacket and then I open up my shirt and have nothing underneath. But spoiler alert, there's a huge big black bar over my boobs. So nothing is shown, but I just love the power behind that. And it was just crazy to see the response that we got and how many people clicked on it and shared it and viewed it and were like, oh my gosh, yes, what were we doing? Why have we not been thinking that? And it was just amazing to see. And we even had like these world-renowned cardiologists come to us and be like, this is like the best content we've ever seen addressing this topic. And it just feels really powerful. Though I will say, unfortunately, though, I did share it with it was a collaborative post with my personal page. And of course, we had very narrow-minded people and people that were colleagues of mine telling me, you need to take that down. Like that is almost like pornographic in a sense, which is just unfortunate to hear because again, we live in this society. We need to start normalizing it. That's to save somebody's life. That's not for anything else, but to help people understand, hey, anybody can be affected by sudden cardiac arrest and we need to be ready to help them in any circumstance. But that definitely has been my favorite.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's just incredible. And like you say, it is such an eclectic, what you've created so far. So here's the thing. In preparing for this interview with you two, I learned something. I learned lots of things, actually. So I learned that 1 in every 300 youth has an undiagnosed heart condition. I learned that 4 Florida youths will suffer sudden cardiac arrest every day. Only 9% will survive. I learned that sudden cardiac death kills an estimated 436,000 Americans every year. I learned all of this on your website in a section about the Heartcharged Act. So, Hannah, let's flip over to you. Can you please tell us about Florida House Bill 263?
Yeah, so first off, Florida House Bill 263, both that bill and I died, but I came back, and fortunately, hopefully that bill will come back because it's the past legislative session has passed, unfortunately, and we are devastated. But we've, it's been a few months, so we're not as devastated in our faces as you can see now. But yeah, it didn't pass, but we're gonna grab the nearest AD and revive it for this next legislative session. But really, what it was is so we created and wrote the law ourselves, and it was about having cardiac emergency plans that would have K through 12 schools, every school in Florida, because that's where we're based from. We would definitely want something like this national, but we're starting right now in our backyard. But yeah, K through 12 schools would have like at least 2 drills, like a cardiac emergency drill, so that everyone from students, administration, teachers, and even people in the community would know what to do when someone goes into sudden cardiac arrest. They would know where the AED is, how to use the AEDs. It also addressed having AEDs literally close, that it was a 3-minute retrieval, because 3 minutes is very big in cardiac arrest. When someone goes unconscious, you have about 3 minutes that you would want that AED placed on them before they start suffering brain damage. And so that they would have enough AEDs that you could grab 3-minute retrievals anywhere you're at on the school grounds. We had a big educational component apart with it, that we would give out information to the parents, to the students, to the community of warning signs of cardiac conditions. Like you said, 1 in 300 people. This bill was going to change that 9% to 90%, because that's the thing. If people know what to do it literally goes up so much percentage. So we're very much believing like the Heartcharged Act itself is very much empowering, and especially empowering the next generation of lifesavers to know what to do, and that it shouldn't be something that only selected teachers know where the AED is. Like everyone should know where it is, because that's what you learn. Like CPR, 7 out of 10 times you're doing it on someone you love. So it's not like it's always going to happen at school, even though sudden cardiac arrest is actually the #1 killer in schools. A way to remember the 263 is to save the 63 students a day nationwide who are affected by cardiac arrest. So like, ages 18 and younger are affected by this. I survived sudden cardiac arrest at the age of 17. It's not something that's like wild that you never heard of. It's just we don't have enough press coverage of it. And so that's why it's not like a school shooting where it's all condensed in that school. It's one in Idaho, one here in Wisconsin, one scattered around, so people don't think of the weight as much. But if you'd heard 2 classrooms full of students died today, you would be shook and you'd be like, oh my gosh, we need to do something. And that's how we felt since the moment we've been diagnosed, seeing that people our age were dying from a preventable death. We could help them with a heart screening by detecting it. But this bill and this act was really to be in place for, hey, the AED is what's going to bring somebody back, because the cardiac arrest is an electrical problem in the heart. It's really only going to take an AED. It's empowering them to know what to do in case of an emergency. And we're very big on, yes, it is like the #1 killer of student athletes, but I went to cardiac arrest not doing an athletic sport. It's more than just the athletes. It's why wouldn't we save all the children when we get the chance, right? Why wouldn't everybody know this information? Hence why we do free CPR and AED trainings, when you'd definitely be asking money for that. But we believe that everybody should have that right to that knowledge. When it's life-saving, there shouldn't be a price, because the minute you put a price on it, the minute you're doubting whether or not you want to spend that money to learn that skill. Because we also help push initiatives to have 9th and 11th graders in high school to learn CPR, right, and AED, so that they, to make it a requirement so that people would do it and hold to it. And so that's kind of why we advocate for this legislative stuff, because when it's law and it's enforce that law, it makes it easier for people to know that than just us, sharing on social media or shouting from there's no mountains here in Florida, but like shouting to get anybody's attention, of using both social media and the legislative process to cover everyone, as many people as we can, to get this information out there, because you would want to know if you could save a life. Like, you wouldn't want to regret it, knowing like, oh my gosh, if only I would have known where that AED is, or knowing how to use it. And spoiler alert, an AED anyone literally can use. We train like 8-year-olds on it. Like, it talks you through the whole steps, so it's not anything to be scared of or afraid of. So yeah, we're gonna bring back the House bill and the Senate bill. Unfortunately, our sponsors were not as committed as we were. They lied to us, the politicians. So yes, are we shocked? We're just more disappointed that they, and then they wouldn't let us, find new sponsors. They held on to it and wouldn't even be presented to the first committee, which is something that has to be done. You have to have like the same bill on the Senate and on the House, and it has to go to the committees that like the bill is covered under, and then pass to those committees and then voted on. So like the children, they let it die. So yeah, we just want to not thank Senator Brian Avila for not even speaking with us or advocating or pushing for our bill. But, like you see, we get back up and we're going to keep fighting for it and pushing for it, because we know how important it is. No matter, if we're not taking that serious yet, we're going to make it happen.
Well, it sounds like in addition to being a filmmaker, you're just going to have to be a politician yourself and just go and get it done, So
I gave up on politics, though. I did want to be like president. And then I said, I enjoy making films better. I was like, I can't with this back. Yeah, the whole culture of the politics. But yeah.
Well,
if needs be, we'll just vote for Bethany. Yeah.
What the work that you're doing, again, you don't know what you don't know until you know. I had no idea until I dove in and I took a look and saw and listened to what you had to share. So For those like myself who are not aware about the severity and the prevalence of undiagnosed heart conditions, I'm wondering, now that we're aware, what action do we take? So a question for you both is, if there's just one thing someone could do when it comes to the matter of the heart, where should we be starting? Where should we start?
That's a great question. I'm only saying that so then I can buy time to answer it. No, but it is really good. And again, I'm like not being like, oh, it's a hard question, because even in our journey, like having a heart condition, it's like a one surgery save all. For us, it's about lifestyle changes. It's something that you grow to learn to live with. So I think for me, I would say is get your heart screened, check. Like first check on yourself. Like when you're in a plane, right? Put that oxygen mask on yourself. Yes, we would love you to support and follow us at Heartcharged on Instagram. And if you know people who are affected with heart conditions, please, we made our Instagram as a patient-to-patient community. We're here to support, but I think go check on you first, make sure you're okay, and then come join our community and help us bring awareness. But I think, make sure if you've ever had an EKG done, an echocardiogram done, make sure if you're not even the heart, if you feel anything is off, go follow up, and definitely go follow up with the specialist, because we'll tell you 60% of the time pediatricians dismiss cardiac conditions in young kids. So especially if you're young, if something's off, it's hard, but stand up for yourself and make sure you're taken seriously and looked after. So I would say definitely get your own heart checked first, and then come join us so we know that you're okay as well.
That's a great suggestion. So start with your own heart, right? How about you, Bethany? Anything to add to that?
I would just add that, well, Hannah already touched on it, so definitely check your own heart, and then of course join us at Heartcharged. And if you ever want free CPR and AED classes, we teach, but just to know and to be prepared. And I think it's so important to make yourself aware of the warning signs of a cardiac condition, and whatever, fainting, dizziness, rapid heart rate, abnormal heart rate, not being able to keep up with your peers, family history. Those are just important things to keep an eye out, just so that you're watching out for other people around you too, because you never know, you could be that lifesaver. And the other thing I was going to say as well too is, if you do end up getting diagnosed, and don't forget that your life doesn't end with a diagnosis.
Well, this is all great advice, great knowledge that you've shared and that you continue to share. Thank you so much for taking this time again, and for helping all of us just become a bit more aware now. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.